In the last Mishnah on Daf Vav Amid Beis, we're in the middle of the malacha of tzad, of trapping on Shabbos. Yoshav echad ala Pesach. An animal walks into a house, into a room, into an enclosure where it could be trapped. It's not yet trapped. The fact that it can walk out the same place it walked in, it's not trapped. And somebody goes ahead and closes the door. So that was a previous case. So that counts as trapping. If somebody walks into the doorway and blocks the exit, that also is trapping. So Yoshav echad ala Pesach, somebody sits down and blocks the exit. V'lei miluhu. So then it would be chayiv. But if he doesn't completely block the exit, then there's still more trapping to be done. Yoshav hasheni milu, and a second person comes and sits down and completes the trapping. Hasheni chayiv. Then the second person is going to be chayiv because he's the one that did the tzeidah. Rashi indicates that the first one did not do tzeidah. Whether that's everybody agrees to that is not clear, but the idea is that the first person did not complete the tzeidah at least. Whether he's doing any tzeidah at all, any trapping, is Rashi indicates he's not. And therefore, the second person who sits down and completes fills the doorway is going to be chayiv. Yoshav arishan ala Pesach milu. The first person sits down and does fill the doorway, and therefore he's now trapped the animal inside. Uba sheni v'yoshav b'tzidei. Now a second person comes and sits beside him. Alpha pishaman arishan. Even if the first person walks away, and now it turns out by default that the second person who sat down there is now the one that's keeping the animal in the enclosure. Is everyone having a hard time hearing me? Charles, check your volume. Maybe it's your volume. Okay, so the second person who sat down and by default is now the one that's doing the trapping, but he didn't do the initial trapping. He's just keeping it trapped where the first person created the trapping. The first one is still going to remain chayiv, and the second one is going to be exempt pater. What is that similar to? Somebody closes the door, somebody locks the door of his house, which already been closed, and finds that there's an animal in there. So the animal was already trapped, and he didn't do anything by adding to it. So again, you don't have to close a door in front of an enclosure with an animal in there in order for it to be trapping it. You stand in the doorway and you block the doorway. That in and of itself is trapping. However, if it was already trapped, whether because someone else is in the doorway fully enclosing it, or because the door is already closed, either way, that will remain. That will keep it closed and keep it trapped, and that's permissible. Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rabbi Amar Rabba. A bird flies into a person's frock, into his clothing, into his shirt, under his garment. He can remain that way with the bird inside there until Shabbos is over. So he's allowed to do that. He's allowed to remain that way. And we don't say, well, even though he didn't trap it, the bird flew in on its own, but now he's maintaining the trapping. In our Mishnah it says that if the first person was completely blocking the doorway, and the second person shows up and the first person leaves, and the second person by default, by remaining there, is the one that's blocking the doorway, the second one is exempt. The first one that the trapping, yes, chatas offering, the second one is exempt. Exempt usually means he's exempt of a chatas offering, but it's still prohibited. He's doing something wrong. It's just that it's not enough to obligate him in a chatas offering, whether it's not the right complete measure or it's the rabbanon. But either way, it's going to be prohibited. Pater aval aser. Usually, pater exempt means also, but however, it is prohibited. Myla pater aval aser. So wouldn't we say here too? What the meaning is pater aval aser? It's even though that it was already trapped, maintaining the trapping by your presence there is also going to be prohibited. Just not enough to bring a chatas offering. So too. This bird under his garment should also be usher to maintain the trapping. Like pater or mutter. No, this is one of the three cases where it means he's exempt and it's actually permissible. And it's logical to say so in our Mishnah because our Mishnah concludes with a statement that this is similar to where someone is locking a door and finds that the animal's in the house. Somebody who closes the door in order to protect his house, he locks the door, and he turns around and he finds that there's a deer there. He doesn't have to go and open the door. He doesn't have to unlock the door. He's allowed to lock his door. He doesn't have to first check whether there's deer in there. So too over here, he's allowed to lock the door. He's allowed to maintain the trapping. So and it says exempt, it means exempt and permissible. Shmamina. Rashi in the Mishnah says that the idea is that it's like it was in the enclosure before Shabbos. Those that say Rav Nachman says that we learned a braysa. Wouldn't you say that it means that it's permissible as well, not only exempt but also permissible? So the challenger said no. Maybe it means pater avalasser that it's exempt, but you're still prohibited from staying there and keeping it trapped. And Gemara says no, can't be. What's it similar to? Somebody closes his door to guard his house, and he finds that the deer is in his house. There, for sure, it's permissible. So to over here must be that it's permissible. Shmamina. Amar Shmuel. So Shmuel tells us this rule. Kol Piture de Shabbos. Every time that it says in Shabbos, patur, exempt, it just means that it's exempt of a chatas, but it does not mean that it's permissible. In fact, it's prohibited. Kol Piture de Shabbos patur, exempt, avalasar, but would be prohibited to do. Libar mahani tlas. Besides for these three, the patur umutter, which would be both exempt, but not only exempt, it's actually permissible to go ahead and do. Which three? Chadaha. One is the one that, in our case, that the second person is allowed to remain at the doorway since he didn't create the trapping. He's maintaining the trapping status of this animal. He's maintaining it as it is, so that's permissible. Umemai the pater mutter, and how do we know that it really means exempt and permissible, and not just exempt? The Ktani Seifa, because it says the next line in the Mishnah says it's similar to somebody who closes his door in his house and finds out that there's an animal in it. What's the second case? Hamapis Mursa, somebody who cuts open a blister, infection, pimple, in B'Shabbos. Im lasis lepeh, if he's trying to make an opening in order to be able to constantly drain it. So this is someone who's a professional and knows what they're doing, and they're making an opening, so they're actually creating the opening for a purpose, so that's prohibited. We know that making a Pesach Yafa, making a proper opening, which is meant to maintain, is is a form is a constructive form of let's call a building. And he's making an opening. Chayiv, that would be a Torah prohibition, unless obviously the infection needs it because it's dangerous. But if it's just if it's not at the level of dangerous, so then you can't do that on Shabbos. But if it's just to take the pus out and doesn't mind if it closes back up again, so it's not to create an opening and maintain the opening. So pater, it's going to be exempt. And there the halacha is it's exempt and permissible.
Why wouldn't it be? Why isn't there a problem of refuah? I mean, he's obviously doing it for what's the heter there to do it? Because generally speaking, we don't do things that are connected with refuah on Shabbos.
Yeah, there are certain things you're not allowed to do on Shabbos for medicinal purposes if they are for a minor ailment that does not change the way a person goes about their day. So it's not going to make them ill. They're not really sick. They're not making them really ill. It's just that they're uncomfortable by something. So then you're not allowed to do medicinal things. That's your question. Why is this not included in that? Right? There, the reason is because you're going to create that you may create a potion which makes grinding and other melachas in it. So that's any form of external remedy. You're adding something. You're doing something. Here, you're just relieving relieving something. So that's no more than taking out a splinter. You're not healing. You're just removing something that's causing pain. That's permissible. You're not doing you're not creating an external remedy. That's the idea. So, how do you know that this is permissible? But now we learned machat shel yad lidabes, because you're allowed to use even though that there is a muktzah on items that cannot be used on Shabbos because their function is a melacha, so that creates a muktzah machmas a klisha malachta leiser. It's a vessel that's an item whose primary function is prohibited on Shabbos. It's a hammer. However, if you need it for something that's permissible on Shabbos, say you're trying to open a walnut and you take your hammer, you're allowed to do that. Or if you want to take a needle to remove a splinter. So that too is permissible because if you can take that splinter out without definitely causing it to bleed, you're allowed to do that. Ve'idach. And so you see, just like the removing of the splinter, so too removing of the pus or the zit or whatever it is permissible. Ve'idach, what's the other place? The third place where it says pater, exempt, but it means mutter, permissible. Hatzad nachash b'Shabbos, somebody traps a snake on Shabbos. If he's just trying to take care of it so that it doesn't bite him, that's exempt, which is going to mean it's permissible. If he's trying to get the venom for a potion for healing, chayiv, then that sort of trapping is for the benefit of what it brings you. And snakes are something that do get trapped for what they can give you. So therefore, it's going to be chayiv because it's a deraisa trapping. The pater, and how do you know that if you're doing it just to keep it away from you, that it's not only exempt but even permissible? The Tanan, as we learned, kaifin karal aner, you're allowed to put a bowl over a candle, not sealed over because then it's going to block the oxygen and it's going to extinguish the flame. So for sure that's prohibited. No, we're talking about over it, meaning keep it over so that it protects the ceiling from catching fire. You can put it over a excrement from a child that got it somewhere and you can't clean it on Shabbos, but you can cover it so that it's not disgusting. And on a scorpion, you can cover a scorpion so it doesn't bite. So you see that it's permissible, even though that it's essentially trapped at this point. but you're not doing it to trap it. You're doing it to keep it away. So that's permissible. So any dangerous creature that you're trying to trap, not for the sake of what you need from it, but just to keep it away, is permissible to trap.
So as Tinok, why a graf shari we could take out? So why is this different?
It's not in the house. It's outside. It's somewhere where you can't move it. Right. So it's in a place where you can't move it, but you can cover it. I don't know. With this, we complete the 13th parak of Shabbos. We should come back to you. Be'ezus Hashem Yisbarach. Shmona Shratzim. So we're going to get to the subject matter of injuries, and the Gemara is going to make a distinction between injuries that heal or where the blood gets stuck between the hide and the skin and does not really heal, and where it heals, it's not going to be the same level of injury because the blood that comes out really goes back in as well. The Gemara is going to make a distinction and say some animals, the skin is really a part of the flesh. And in some animals, the hides are really a separate entity from the flesh itself. And this is going to be relevant not only in regards to Shabbos and the blood being trapped between the flesh and skin, and therefore counting as extracted and a malacha on Shabbos, but it's going to be relevant for Tuma as well. As we'll see, that the question is, do the hides count as a part of the flesh or an independent body in regards to Tuma? Shmona Shiratzim, the 8 rodents, let's call it, that the Torah counts as the 8 Shiratzim, Amurim Torah, Hatzadam, somebody who traps them, V'hachovel be'em, and somebody who injures them, meaning they hit them and cause a bruise. Chayiv, for either one of those actions, there would be a chatas offering if done on Shabbos, because they are they're something that people trap, and therefore it counts as trapping. And when you injure it, it has a skin, and the wound, the blood that comes out into the black and blue mark is not going to be reabsorbed into the flesh, and therefore it is similar to slaughtering the animal where you're bleeding it to death. Over here, this amount of blood that was brought out is going to be a malacha. Rashi brings another interpretation that the hide gets dyed, gets discolored on account of the bruise, because it doesn't get reabsorbed in the body properly, and therefore it's not shchita. It's not a part of killing the animal and taking away part of its soul, its life force, but also, or rather, it's dyeing it. Either way, it's chayiv for chovel, and this is based upon that the skin is going to be separate from the flesh itself. But other creepy crawlies, somebody who causes them a black and blue mark is going to be exempt. Hatzadan, what about trapping? So look, if you trap it for itself, you need it. So then you chayiv. But if you trap it not for itself, it's a malacha she'eina tzricha legufo. Rashi says you don't need it for itself. You don't need it for itself because you're not gaining something from what you've done. So the malacha is not legufa. The trapping action is not for the result that it gives you. As we said before, to keep a scorpion away. You're not trying to trap it to keep the scorpion, you're trying to trap it to keep the scorpion away. So that's going to be exempt. And in cases of dangerous animals, it's going to be permissible. Rashi throws in a word over here because this type of creature is not trapped. And as we saw earlier, it has to be b'mino nitzad. It's the type of thing that typically is trapped. You're trapping something that is common and typical to trap. And these aren't. Tosus has difficulties with this on account of various things. The main point of Rashi is going to be is because it's malacha she'eina tzricha legufa. You're not benefiting from the result of your act because you're not trying to keep the animal, but rather you're just trying to keep it away, but you don't care whether it's trapped or not. And therefore, you're exempt because you're not doing the malacha for its result. Animal or a bird that's already in your possession, meaning it's domesticated. Hatzadam pater, trapping that is going to be exempt. But injuring it is going to be chayev because of the reasons said before. You release the blood, which is a form of killing it. Now, since it says that injuring it is chayev, mechlal the islahu or, that tells me that it has a hide, it has a separate skin. Mantana. So whose opinion is it that all 8 of the shrutzim, of the rodents, the shrutzim that the Torah counts, have their own skin? This must be Rabbi Yochanan Nuri. Amashmur Rabbi Yochanan Nuri. This is the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan Nuri. The Tanan Rabbi Yochanan Nuri mashmona shrutzim yesh lahem oris. He says that the 8 shrutzim, they have their own skins. And as opposed to what the Rabbanan say over there, that 4 of them, the Hanaka, Kach, Halta, and Chomet, these 4, their skin is a part of the flesh. And the skins will also be the same level tuma as the flesh. So the Chachamim say these 4, their skins are a part of the flesh and have tuma in the same way as the flesh itself. And Rabbi Yochanan says, no, all 8 of them, the skin is separate, and therefore the skin is not going to have tuma in the same way as the flesh itself. However, Rabbi Bar Huna says, no, it is possible to say that even the Rabbanan would agree, and there's a distinction from tuma. Because the Rabbanan only disagree with the Rabbi Yochanan Nuri and say that these 4 of the 8 have skin. It's only in regards to Tumah, the Chsiv, where the Torah says, Eila hatameim lechem, these are Tameh. After it mentions the Hanaka and the Koach, it says this, and we say, Eila hatameim, the extra hay that tell you that these 4, their skins are also going to be a part of the flesh and going to be Tameh. And it says these, but not the ones that were in the previous verse, which were the Kollel, Akbar, and the Tzav. So we see that these 4, the skin is a part of the flesh and has Tumah, and the Rabbi Yochanan Nuri says, no, all 8 of them, the skin is separate, does not have Tumah. But that's a specific rule in regards to Tumah, because the Torah tells us there's a special drash, Eile hatameim, these are the ones that are Tameh, that even the skin's Tameh, but the other 4 are not so. But in regards to Shabbos, it's not going to make a distinction. The Rabbi Shur saying Kipsora. The drash over there is that the skin is like the flesh and it has tumah. Avala in Shabbos. But in regards to Shabbos, the Rabbanan would also agree that the skins can entrap the blood from the wound, from the black and blue mark into it, and therefore it's going to be considered a malach on Shabbos. Well, they did Shabbos lepligi. Is that true? That the disagreement is only in regards to Tumah and not in regards to Shabbos? But Tani we learned. If somebody traps one of the 8 shratzim, like our Mishnah, the Brisa begins with the same trapping of the 8. Rabbi Yochanan says he's going to be chayev for injuring them, for causing them a bruise. Ella Lamasha Mana Chachamim. And the Brisa concludes the Chachamim disagree and they say that, oh no, only the 4 that have their own skin is going to count as a bruise. The ones that the skin is a part of the flesh. In regards to Tumah, in regards to Shabbos also, it's not going to count as a wound because it's not entrapped between the flesh and the skin. And so since the skin is a part of the flesh, it will just be reabsorbed in the bloodstream and it'll heal. So now we're on Kuf Zayin Amid Beis. And so it says, just in the wording of the Brisa says, so they are what the Chachamim had counted. So the Gemara says, Adarabah, l'mashamana Chachamim elam. No, the ones that the Chachamim counted are the ones that do not have skin, and the skin is a part of the flesh. And Abaye explained, no, what the brisa means is, Ein or cholik mibsar. Besides for the 4 that the Chachamim counted as the skin is not a part, is not separate and is a part of the flesh. There's no separate flesh besides for the ones that the Chachamim counted. In any case, the Brisa tells us clearly that the Chachamim disagree not only in regards to Tumah, but also in regards to an injury on Shabbos. This would be the ones that the Chachamim counted. Elam Rava, again, is still on the wording of the Brisa. That the skin is not going to cause tuma like the flesh, besides for the 4 that the Chachamim counted. Well, that can't be, because then we're going to say that Rabbi Yochanan Nuri says that they're all tummy, even the ones that the Chachamim did not count. Rabbi Yochanan says the reverse, that they all 8 have a separate skin, and therefore the skin is not a part of the tumah. So Rabbi Masna says that the meaning of the wording of the Brisa is the Mon and Chachamim means like this. The Chachamim say that in regards to tumah they don't have skin. These 4 that the Chachamim count don't have skin. But it's not. But he's not talking about Shabbos. So in any case, the answer is it's not talking about Shabbos. It's talking about Tumah. And what it means is that the ones that the Chachamim counted are the ones that don't have Tumah. But in regards to Shabbos, he's not disagreeing. But so Gemara says, "Vakati leinu Shabbos lepligi." Is that really true? That so you explain this Brisa away that the wording really is off, and the meaning of the wording is to tell you that in regards to Tumah, these don't have skin. Okay, but we have a Brisa that says, "Matani we learned that Sad Echad Neshmana Shratzam Amurim B'Torah Hachav Ben Chayiv." Somebody traps one of the somebody traps one of the 8 shratzim that are in the Torah. Achav Ben Chayiv. Somebody injures them is going to be Chayiv. Transgress on account of the blood coming out. The shratzim that have skin, so that the blood is trapped between the skin and the flesh. And what is considered a chabura, a wound that doesn't heal, meaning that the blood is trapped between the skin and flesh and won't be reabsorbed. The blood gets trapped there, even though it didn't come out, meaning even though it didn't break the skin. But nevertheless, since there's a bruise there, and the blood is trapped between the flesh and skin, and the hides are separate from the flesh, and therefore it's not going to be reabsorbed, that counts as the malach. And then Rabbi Yochanan Nuri says that they do have skins, and therefore he says that all 8 are going to be the skin separate from the flesh, whereas in the Chachamim said it's only in the shratzim sheyesham oris, indicating that some do and some don't. So we see that even in regards to Shabbos, there's a machlokas. Amar Ravashi man Tanakama Rav Yehuda Dazabasa Gishto. He says no. This is Rabbi Yehuda, and this is in regards to Tumah. Now we learned Rabbi Yehuda Omer Halta Kachulda. Rabbanan Pligilei Rabbi Yochanan le'inyan Tumah le'inyan Shabbos Moedele. This is only Rabbi Yehuda who disagrees in regards to the Gishta, which is that he learns it has a very thick skin, and it has a separate hide that's very thick, and since it's so thick, that's not counted as the flesh, which is the halta, maybe a lizard, which has a very thick skin, and So only in regards to that is there going to be a separate skin, and therefore, regards to Shabbos also, the other three, which don't have this gishta, this really thick skin, are going to be considered like the rest of them, that they have the skin as a part of the flesh. But the Chachamim who say that they counted the alta together with the rest of them, that the skin is a part of the flesh in regards to Tumah. In regards to Shabbos, they're also not going to disagree, and they're going to say that's only in regards to Tumah. But in Shabbos, they're not going to disagree with Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, and they're going to say that indeed that it is chayiv, and it's only in regards to Tumah that it's separate. So indeed, the Gemara is saying that you're right. In regards to Rav Yehuda's opinion, Rav Yehuda is a third opinion which we hadn't had yet. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri and the Chachamim are both going to agree in regards to Shabbos. There's no distinction, and both are going to say that you're chayiv. And it's only in regards to Tumah that they're going to say four of them have a separate skin, count as a separate skin, and the skin is not a part of the flesh, and four of them do have the skin is going to be tamei like the flesh. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says all 8 of them, it's not going to be a part of the flesh. That's in regards to Tumah. In regards to Shabbos, both the Chachamim and Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri are going to say that injuring them is going to be chayiv. However, there's a third opinion, Rabbi Yehuda, who says that distinction of the halta, which has a very thick skin, that one is going to be a separate skin, and the tumah is not going to apply to the skin. And for him, in regards to Shabbos, also there it's going to be a separate chiyuv that only the skin there is trapping it, and he's going to say that only that is going to be a malach of Shabbos, of trapping. Of injuring. So the Gemara says, well, then why did the Mishnah make a distinction, the Brisa make a distinction between the first opinion and Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri? The Chachamim agreed to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. In regards to that, in regards to Shabbos, Ihachi, Hi Divrei Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Why did it say that it's the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri? Divrei Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. It's also the opinion of those that disagree with him. The Chachamim who disagree with him in regards to Tumah, in regards to Shabbos, agree with him against Rabbi Yehuda. Tani, indeed, you have to say in the Brisa, Divrei Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri umachlukasei. It's the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri and the Chachamim who disagree with him in regards to Tumah, in regards to Shabbos, they'll agree. Levi asked Rebbe, how do we know that there's such a concept, that a wound that will not heal properly, the black and blue mark, this bruise, that in such animals where the blood gets stuck between the flesh and the skin, and therefore counts as remaining a wound, and therefore for Shabbos counts as having pulled the animal, the blood out, and it's like to a certain degree killing the animal. Yachsifer, it says, in the pasuk, it says, Hayafach Kushi Urub. Will someone from Kush, which is the area of Ethiopia or south, the Africa south of Egypt, so Central Africa, can he switch his skin? V'namer chabar berusav, or a leopard is chabar berusav. So what does that mean? My chabar berusav. What does it mean? Change his chabar berus. It doesn't mean it's spots, it's stripes, it's own skin, the animal skin. So then it should say the namer can it change its colors? Ela kekushi. Rather, it means like the Kushite. Ma oroi the Kushi, einu chazeres. Just as a Kushite does not change his skin, af chabura einu chazeres. So do a wound. The chabar berosav means a wound is in an animal is something that will remain and will not come back, and that it's to tell us that the wound is a lasting wound, and that would be a malach on Shabbos, because if there is a wound that goes back, so therefore like a black and blue mark. that goes back. So it gets reabsorbed in the body. So then the blood that came out is not fully out yet. It's still a part of the system. But if the hide is separate from the flesh, and therefore the blood is really trapped between the muscle and the flesh and the skin and remains there, that counts as a wound, having extracted the blood, essentially on a small level having killed the animal, because taking out some of its life force, and that is going to be malacha on Shabbos. The Mishnah continued and said, all other animals, trapping them is going to be dependent on whether you need them or not. Which tells us trapping him when it's dangerous to you, you're going to be exempt. But if you kill it, you're going to be chayiv. That's a Torah prohibition, and if you did so on Shabbos, you're going to have to bring a chatas offering. Mantana, whose opinion is that? Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Lazi. This is the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. The Tanya Rabbi Eliezer, he says killing a louse on Shabbos is like killing a camel. Small, big animal doesn't make a difference. You can't kill on Shabbos. Maskeflar of Yosef, why? The Chachamim also agree to that. That a small animal is prohibited to be killed just like a large animal on Shabbos. And the distinction is simply in regards to a louse because it's microscopic before it's born. Ella Mekina, the ain't a part of a rubber. It doesn't reproduce on a visible way. But other creatures, the part of a rubber, which reproduce in a way that you can see, like pligi. So then there's no machlokes. And both learn it from rams. Rabbi Eliezer that it's like rams, ma'elim, sheish behem netilas hashama, afkol sheish ben netilas hashama. Just like with rams, there's killing it, which is in the work of the Mishkan. So you would kill it, and so you shecht it. So there's any time you take its soul, any time you remove some of its life force, like we saw before, by causing a wound where the blood comes out and doesn't get reabsorbed, or you actually kill it where you're taking its life force, so then you're going to be chayiv. V'Rabbanan Savri, Rabbanan say ke'elim, like rams, ma'elim, part of a rabbin, and just like something that you visibly see, it reproduces. Afkol, the part of a rabbin, anything that reproduces, but not lice, which are microscopic when they reproduce. In other words, you don't see them reproduce; it comes from the ground. Amalei Abaye v'Kina in part of a rabbin, and is that true that lice don't reproduce? Va'amar mar Yeshua Kadosh Baruch Hu zon mikarnik re'em avad beit sekinim, but it says that Kadosh Baruch Hu sits and nourishes everything from the karne re'emim, the re'em, this huge animal, to vad beit sekinim, to the eggs of lice. As you see, the lice have eggs. Minu the mikra beit sekinim. It's a type of creature called beit sekinim. Batani tefuya beit sekinim. But we learned tefuyin and beit sekinim, also types of things. Minu the mikra beit sekinim. Again, it's called beit sekinim. Bare parash u'paravarava. What about a flea, which reproduces? A tani outside parash b'Shabbos. Rabbi Eliezer Machaber Rabbi Shua Poiter. Where you see Rabbi Shua says that you trap a flea, you're going to be exempt. Rabbi Eliezer is the one that says you're chayiv. So too over here, the same. It seems Rabbi Eliezer is the one that says that killing a louse is chayiv, and Rabbi Shua, the Chachamim, are going to be the ones that say that it's pater on account of the same as a flea. You can catch them, and you can trap them, and you can kill them. Amar Rav Ashi, Tzida Ariga Karam, is he comparing trapping and killing? And not the same. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shua, they're only disagreeing. Rabbi Eliezer says the reason why you're chayiv for trapping, that you have to bring a sin offering for trapping a flea, he says that trapping does not require that it's a type of animal that is typically trapped. Rather, he says any trapping of an animal is going to be a Torah prohibition. But Rabbi Yeshua says no, that in order to transgress a chatas level, that you need to bring a chatas, it has to be an animal that you trap that other people that it's typical to trap, deer, animals that people want. But if you're trapping an animal that nobody wants, so a flea is something that nobody wants, they want to get rid of it. Their trapping is only to get rid of it. They don't really want it themselves. It's not mino nitza. It's not a type of thing that is typically trapped, and that's why Rabbi Yeshua exempts it. So that's specific to trapping. But killing is going to be different. But in regards to killing a flea, Rabbi Yeshua is going to say, of course, you're chayiv. And therefore, the reason is specific. The exemption is specific to louse, killing a louse, lice, because they are microscopic when they grow. So of course we're constantly there are small creatures that we cannot see, such as dust mites or whatever, which may be living things, but killing those are not going to be chayav and Shabbos. It has to be something that you can actually see. So too, even though lice can grow really large, but when they start off essentially microscopic, and therefore it counts as if they were not created. The spontaneous generation that come from the ground, they're not created in a visible way, and therefore killing them on Shabbos would be exempt. All other creatures, the Mishnah concludes that are creepy crawlies. Somebody needs it and traps it, is going to be chayiv. Mantana, Amrei Yehuda Marav, Rab Shimoni. That's the opinion of Rab Shimon. Malacha she'ein tzricha legufa pater alei. It says that any work that you don't need the benefit from it, so you're working, but the result of what you're doing is not beneficial to you. So then you're not. That's malacha she'ein tzricha legufa, work that you don't need for itself, and you're going to be exempt. And some teach it on this. Hamapis mursa b'Shabbos. Like we saw before, somebody makes an opening to a pus pimple or a blister or something. So if you're just trying to let the stuff in there out, so then but you don't mind if it closes up again, so that's permissible. And if your intention is to make an opening because that's a part of the healing, you're trying to make a good opening for it and maintain the opening, so then that's going to be chayiv because you've made something proper, an proper opening. Mantana, I'm Rabbi Yehuda Rav, Rabbi Shimon. This is the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. Since you don't need the opening itself, so it's a malacha, it's work that's not made for itself. You're not trying to make the opening, but rather you're just trying to get the gook out, and then you don't mind if it closes up. So that's going to be exempt. And some say it about this, as we saw before. Hatzad nachash b'Shabbos, somebody traps a snake on Shabbos. If you're trying, just making sure it doesn't bite you, you're exempt. And if you're doing it for healing, in other words, to try and trap it to get the venom for some healing process, then it's going to be chayiv. It's going to be considered a Torah prohibition of trapping. Mantana, whose opinion is this? Amar Rabbi Yehuda Marav, Rabbi Shimon. This is a Rabbi Shimon. You're going to be exempt because it's the benefit of what you're trapping is of not the consequence of your malacha. You're not trying to do that. And it's a malacha she'ein tzricha legufa. It's malacha not for the benefit of what you're doing, and so you're going to be pater. You're going to be exempt in all three cases. This is the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. And as we saw before, these are three cases that not only are you exempt, but you're actually permissible to do.